It is the Injustice 2 characters I want to return and new characters that I think should be in the game. This is one list, so it's not two separate lists, it's just one list. Let's get started because number 10 is Shazam. And I think that Shazam should return, but low on the list because he doesn't need to return. It's not required for him to return. He could return, but he doesn't need to. I think I just said return too many times. Anyway, he was really fun in Injustice, and he still is really fun when I play it now. It's just, he doesn't have too many points where he could do that much in the story, I feel. And in the first game, he was basically just working for Superman, sort of. I've played the story in too long, so correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, but you know, from the main things I remember, that's basically it. He just worked for Superman. I don't know if they could give him more something else to do, but it's not that there is much for a character like Shazam to do, except for just be a fun character to play as with some pretty cool moves, and that's basically what he was. So that's why he's here. Maybe his costume's pretty normal, so you see they could do the different gear options, sort of like how they did it in Injustice, because in Injustice his costume was pretty simple, though it had its sort of modern way to tell, like sort of translated it in a modern way, translated his suit in a modern way, which, I mean, overall it worked out for the best. So, yeah, let's go to number 9. Number 9 is Green Lantern Hal Jordan's return. We need this. He is one of my favorite DC characters and is one of the most famous DC characters of all time. He is pretty much, I'd say guaranteed he's going to be in it, but there's not. So, maybe, like, if I had to, if Flash was not basically announced through the announcement trailer, because we saw him, then I probably would have put him on this slot and then maybe put Hal Jordan on number 10. But since Flash is basically announced, this is what I'm going with. He has so many different ways to change his costume up. Maybe in gear settings, maybe he could gain new rings from different corps, because he's been in different corps. He's been a White Lantern too. He's been a Blue Lantern. I believe he's been a Blue Lantern. He's been a Red Lantern. And there's so many things you could do with that. But, I mean, he doesn't have to change. He could just have costume changes, and he could use different, well, like creations. He can make different things with his ring, depending on which gear you choose. So, that's what I think Green Lantern should have in Injustice 2. Now, number 8 is going to Captain Cold. I would have put him higher on the list, but it's because he's basically announced, and I'm doing him as a new character because he's not fully announced. We did see what looks to be a cold gun in the different trailers and stuff, but we don't know for sure if that is a cold gun or not. So, I guess that's basically why I'm putting him new. I think that he could have a lot of interesting mechanics, but then he also would have pretty simple mechanics, different ways to shoot, I guess, and different ways to mainly like punch, kick. Maybe he could like shoot ice, like shoot some sort of ramp, and then he slides on that ramp and goes up and attacks. It's honestly, you can be pretty creative with him. But that's not it. He has a pretty simple costume, so they could do anything. They could do a more modern jacket. They could do sort of the New 52 style, and also New 52 powers. But the problem with the New 52 powers is they had the cold gun picture. You know what? This is just confusing. So I'll just get on with number 7. Number 7 is the return of the Joker. But I don't know if Joker will for sure return. There's a big chance that he won't, because it's just, he's not required unless they think of something that would help him be required. So I think that that's something that should really, I don't know, I can't think of how you would use him. He's such a good character, but how would they implement him into the story? And of course, not every character has to be in the story, but I mean, Joker, he was in the story in Injustice 1, but there was a reason. The whole blowing up Metropolis, they thought of a really good reason to put him in, and that's why I think he worked well. But now we've got probably Ra's al Ghul being the villain, as we heard the speech in the launch trailer. So that's something that, and I think that makes Joker more possible, since if the main enemy is Ra's al Ghul, it doesn't have to be too big of like too galactic threat or something like that. Then I think that would make perfect sense for Joker to be put in different suits that he has, like different trick suits, and I think the gear system would allow him to have some of his more trick gear instead of it, and maybe modify his special a bit, make it less. Sure, he had normal guns, but I mean, maybe like the Joy Buzzer, put it, like, use that they have the Joy Buzzer, and for example, that's a gear item. And what happens is when you use the Joy Buzzer, it'll electrocute them, and for example, it can stun them. That's sort of something that's in the Injustice iOS game. Well, I died, but anyway, Joker, I don't know, he could just be put in the game simply, it would work. He is the main enemy of Batman. He's one of the most famous villains. He's had many different outfits, Killing Joke, maybe the coat, maybe use some of the outfits that were in Suicide Squad, so I think that could work. Next, I'll go with my number 6. Now, since the Flash is basically announced, put in the reverse Flash. How did they make Shazam and Black Adam different? People are saying that the Flash and Reverse Flash have to be the exact same character. Why not just an alternate skin that's Reverse Flash? But they fight differently. They have the same powers, but they can fight differently, as we saw Shazam and Black Adam. And that's just something that makes perfect sense. Why would you not do Reverse Flash? He could also have a big impact on the storyline. Maybe he's messing around with time, maybe messing around with what this world is, maybe messing around with the timeline. Maybe he stops the bomb of Joker, and maybe he turns Superman good, though we saw Superman evil. Maybe he messes around with time even more. Maybe he recruits villains. Maybe he does a lot of things. Maybe he has to do with Ra's al Ghul. Maybe he kills Ra's al Ghul. There's so much that he could do. Also, armor upgrades, pretty simple. Sort of what you saw with the Flash in the launch trailer, except just more Reverse Flash, a bit different. Maybe sometimes he would be more like a surprise attacker, sort of like Joker. Or if you want, he could be a mainly punch, close combat guy, like I'm just forgetting the Flash, the actual Flash. So yeah, that's what Reverse Flash could do. Next, I would like to talk about my number 5, which is a lot of people's number 1 that they want, but I honestly don't care too much about this character. At least I don't care enough for him to be number 1. This is Red Hood. Now, Red Hood, sure, he's cool, but I mean, what do you he's gonna end up, in my opinion, like, he's gonna end up like Deathstroke, if you ask me. But they've already have Deadshot, and then everybody's like, oh my god, no, Red Hood can't be in it, because Deadshot is the Deathstroke, like the version of Deathstroke that everybody, that's gonna be replacing him. But we don't know that. We don't know if all of the characters may return from the first game, which would be awesome. But then, clearly Deadshot's different, in my opinion, different, but you know, in other people's opinions, he may not be that different, so that it's all in the opinion. So that really has, that's open-minded, because Red Hood could be in the game. We know that there was a poll on Twitter, I believe, that it was asking which Red Hood should be in the game. The Joker Red Hood skin, because he is a fan favorite, and everybody wanted him in the first game as DLC or some sort of downloadable content, or maybe you have to unlock him somehow. So many people wanted him, and now everybody's asking for him in Injustice 2. But I honestly don't see that big of a deal of him not being in the game, because, how do I say this? He would be more similar to Deathstroke than Deadshot, because he uses pretty similar weapons. Deadshot has the arm guns, and we saw his special that was different. I think that could work for Red Hood, but Red Hood, I just don't know. Maybe his different armors could be maybe sometimes without the jacket, more armored look. Maybe sometimes his helmet changes up, maybe without a helmet and with a red Robin mask. There's so many different things you could do with him, since he's not a very specific character with specific costumes. Number 4, Robin. I don't even know why they didn't have him in the first game. I mean, of course they put Nightwing, which I do prefer from Robin, but why didn't they put him in the game? He's even in the comic, but he's not in the game. So that's kind of sad. But don't worry, there's a chance that he's in Injustice 2, which is just put him in Injustice 2. He is one of the most famous characters in all of DC. He's more famous than Deathstroke, Deadshot. He's more famous than Harley Quinn. He's one of the most famous superheroes of all time, for sure. Even non-comic book fans, even little kids who don't even watch the movies, maybe don't even watch the cartoons, they just know the characters. It's just they know Robin, because Robin is such an iconic character, and he is, of course, in my opinion, the best sidekick of all time. So, of course, including him would make perfect sense. Also, they could use the different Robin costumes over the years as different gear options, which is just awesome. I think that I would love that, because, of course, I love the character of Robin. And I don't care. I'm pretty sure if they did it, it would be Damian Wayne. But it doesn't matter really which Robin it is, as long as they just put him in the game. And I think maybe they could use a staff for him, like sort of a weapon. Maybe sort of like Nightwing, except it's not just, it's in a skirmish stick. It's just all-out staff, sort of. What? I think I exploded myself. That was just odd. Either way. Oh no. Anyway, so that's why I think Robin should be in the game. But there's also my number 4, which is actually number 3. I just didn't realize that Robin was number 4. My number 3 is Nightwing returning. Okay, he was an awesome character. He is my favorite DC character of all time. My second favorite, my favorite superhero, tied with Spider-Man. And I think he was just too fun in the game. Sure, he had some really annoying attacks that could get people, but that was the point of him. He was an acrobat. He also mastered in different weapons, and that's what made him good. So I think that costumes, that could be pretty simple. Maybe sometimes some gear options would change it to the New 52 emblem. Some gear options would make it look more like the Young Justice TV show. There's so many different suits that he has, or he has had over the years, because he's not one specific design that maybe can be a tiny bit modified. It can be modified quite a bit and you still know it's Nightwing. That gives him perfect gear options for Injustice 2. Now, he could also have different gear modifications. For example, he could have these skirmish sticks. They could be modified. They could become more clunky but more powerful, but they could become faster but they do less damage. They could be modified to get the staff ability, or they could be have the staff ability taken out if you wanted to. It's just depending on which gear you're wearing. Now, that is it. I'm not doing any more returning characters now. It's the 2 top characters. New characters I really want in Injustice 2. And now, one of these is probably not going to surprise you. But probably the other is going to surprise you. That's number 2. Kyle Rayner White Lantern. Perfect. He is a different sort of a different Green Lantern, and it's good to have different Lantern Corps in a game because we already have seen Atrocitus. He's gonna be one of the main, well, he was one of the first characters to be announced in the game, and I think he was just an awesome choice. And come on, just think about it. Just think about it for a second. 1 second. 1 second. Imagine Kyle Rayner being in Injustice, and I mean, imagine how he could fit into the storyline. He's come here for Atrocitus by the White Lantern Corps. He's come here to, like, for example, capture Atrocitus, and he's broken free. He came to Earth or something like that, and now we see him. Oh no, instead of me getting that, he got the stage transition. Oh, that's bad. Anyway, he could, like, you could see him weirdly interacting to some of the Justice League members if they, for example, don't know it. But one of the main problems is Kyle Rayner died. But wait a second. I have a really good option that perfectly makes sense. After he died, a White Lantern ring came to him and brought him back to life. It would make perfect sense, in my opinion, because White Lanterns, it's sort of life is their thing. And their power is life or light, and you know, that's just what could have brought him back to life after Sinestro killed him. Or he might be seeking revenge on Sinestro, and maybe Atrocitus knows where Sinestro is, and you know, a whole thing. There's so many different ways to use Kyle Rayner, and also for his different suits. I think that the different rings that I said for Hal Jordan would suit him even better, since he is he's mainly a White Lantern, and White Lanterns use the different powers of all the different Lantern Corps, and that could just change up what he uses. For example, if he's using yellow, he's using things that will make sort of like Sinestro gameplay. He could be more like Atrocitus when he's red, and sort of Saint Walker when he's blue, and everything could work out like that. But now my number one pick, who needs to be in this game. They've already announced Blue Beetle, so what am I gonna go for? I'm gonna go to say Booster Gold. Okay, Booster Gold needs to be in this game. He is perfect. He has a sort of mixed gameplay. He can have ranged plus close combat. He can sort of fly, and maybe if you press circle, his ability is he flies sort of like Hawker Girl, or his circle ability could be he charges his like punches with, or he goes like, he gets his yellow energy around him, and I think that makes sense mainly. But there's so many opportunities with this character, and I think that he really should be in the game. He deserves to be in the game. They put Blue Beetle in. I mean, Booster Gold is probably a better option than Blue Beetle. And just imagine what happens is for special. I didn't talk about a lot of other character specials. Maybe Kyle Rayner's just quickly. He changes he goes to different Lantern planets, uses their different powers. But anyway, getting on to Booster Gold special, he may send them into a different timeline, maybe dinosaurs. Dinosaurs start chomping him up, he takes them back, throws them to another timeline. Like maybe the future, and then a bunch of flying cars hit them. Then he takes them to the present, or maybe in the middle of like some warfare, and then, or some Justice League business, and or maybe Darkseid or something. And then that person, like somebody grabs him and beats him up, like some villain, mainly Darkseid. I'm thinking because of the stage transition, that was really good. That was a really good stage transition. But you see, that's the kind of possibilities they have. Those are the possibilities that they have for Booster Gold, and that's why I think he's the #1 character. Also for the gear system, I've been talking about the gear system for basically every character I mentioned. Booster Gold has a pretty simple design. Maybe it can be modified every time he uses the gear system. Maybe they show off some different powers. Maybe he shoots different like sort of beams. Maybe he uses skeets. Maybe Skeets could be his circle. You click for Skeets, and Skeets sort of like zaps the enemy, sort of like how Zod has a minion, as I'm showing right now. So that's really, honestly, what I think. So that's it for my top 10 list. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And please leave a comment below if you want me to do another top 10 list. Thanks for watching.